podcast Fandom, the official podcast for projectfandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
I'm Donald.
And I'm John.
And we are back to discuss Paper Girls, Season 1, Episodes 2 and 3. Episode 2 is Weird Al is Dead. He's not. And Episode 3 is Blue Tongues Don't Lie. Before we dive into that, I want to remind you that the website is back up and running, and the most important thing you'll find there after the podcast, of course, is the schedule tab, which will link you to our publishing schedule for the next month, as well as titles that are upcoming beyond that. And another reminder that all feedback for new shows that are not already have feedback posts up on Patreon, all feedback from now on should be sent to feedback@projectfandom.com, and we'll read it on the podcast. Some shows that we have coming up in the very, very, very near future, meaning like when we're done talking about this, we're going to be talking about that. The Sandman, that debuted on Netflix today. I keep thinking it's Saturday. I'm sorry. Our weekend is like all messed up. Not messed up. Yesterday was our son's birthday, and Donnie took the day off, so he essentially has a 3-day weekend. So, you hear your dog. Yeah, my Friday feels like Saturday. Yeah. But yeah, The Sandman dropped today, August 5th. And we're covering that on the premium podcast. We watched the first episode and really enjoyed it, and we're going to be talking about that later. And what else? She-Hulk starts in the next... Did you hear they moved that from your birthday, John, to mine?
Mm-hmm, I saw it. I was like, I'm not watching this shit.
Feige loves me more than you.
I wonder why they did. That's so weird for one day.
It is like a weird thing to do, right?
So it's not competing with Andor.
Oh, is that
Andor is the 17th?
I'm not sure if it's on the 17th, but it's a Wednesday show.
So it just the whole thing shifted. Okay.
Yeah, like the way that Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan were kind of on the same day. Yeah. They're just not doing that with these two.
Okay.
Marvel's are going to be Thursdays now. Star Wars is going to be Wednesdays.
So we have that coming up. And look, I don't have to struggle anymore. I tell you guys, there's this beautiful schedule on the podcast, and then I don't pull it up. What's wrong with me? I got to get used to the fact that it's back. John, I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot. I'll ask you later in case you want to say no. No, I really don't. I'll ask you later in case you want to say no. The K-drama Tomorrow, that dropped today, the day that we're recording this. We have the Spy Family finale coming up tomorrow. The first half of Money Heist Korea on Sunday. What else? We're continuing Westworld. That's premium. And then, of course, The Sandman, which I just mentioned. She-Hulk the week after that. And another new K-drama, Itaewon Class, on August 14th. This month is so packed. So packed. And, of course, House of the Dragon towards the very end of the month. That's free. So, a lot of good stuff coming up. Okay. But we're here to talk about Paper Girls, and we're doing 2 episodes, even though the schedule previously said 1. And that's because Donnie and I found ourselves, wanting to watch something, and it was like, why can't we watch another one? We didn't have anything else really to watch. So we asked John if he would mind watching 2 and 3 and recording. And he said no, he wouldn't mind, so that's what we did. I don't know what we're going to do going forward. So right now, the schedule still is after this, has 1 a week. I don't know what we're going to do going forward. But again, send your feedback into feedback@projectfandom.com, and we'll read it on the air. Just make sure you put the episode title or number in the subject so I don't get spoiled. What did you say?
I said I'm glad we did.
Did what?
Watched 2.
Oh, me too. Me too. Me 3. Me 4. I loved it. Spoiler.
Oh, jeez. Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
Wait your fucking turn. Shit.
Sorry. Just for that, I'm skipping
you. Should go first.
No. I'm skipping Donnie. John, what did you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm really enjoying the show.
Mm-hmm.
I like the. God, I'm trying to think of like the words, and my brain's not working. Like the way that the girls are interacting. I think they're doing a good job of making those interesting. Like there's one scene I'll just call out right now. The one where Erin and Mac are talking. It's like them by themselves outside
the store. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought like that was just a really nicely like formatted scene, and it reminded me a lot of that game Life is Strange. Especially because like there's like that music playing in the background. I don't know, it just feels like, you know, that's the sweet spot for the show, I think, in terms of the characters. And then I'm really intrigued by the time travel stuff with Larry and Juniper and all that shit.
Right.
Like as much as I was enjoying the stuff with Mac, like
episode 3 just fucking flips everything.
Right? But like as much as I was enjoying that stuff with her and her brother and stuff, whenever it would cut from them with Larry to Mac, I was like, oh man. It's like I just wanted to see more of the stuff with, you know, the Larry and the girls and stuff. But like I said, I do like the stuff with Matt too. It's just like it's kind of, you know, spoiled with you know, too much stuff.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This headline: Anne Heche was rushed to the hospital after driving her. She crashes her car into LA home, sparking a fire that sends her to the hospital. The car went airborne before lodging 30 feet inside house, fire officials say.
Yeah, they said she was on fire.
Who was on fire?
And hey, they said she suffered severe burns. The headline did. And she was driving erratically, they said, down the street. Beforehand.
And it wasn't and it was somebody else's home. Yeah. Wow. That's so sad. Okay. Back on track. Were you done with your overall thoughts, John?
Yes.
Okay. Donnie, you may speak now.
All right, I can speak now.
Yes, you have my permission.
To kind of touch on like what John was saying, like the interactions and stuff. The one scene that sticks out to me is when they're in the older Erin's house and they're on the couch talking about Weird Al, and just that was so innocent to me.
Yeah.
The joking of the Weird Al, like, oh, what's his name, Weird Al, like that. Just the way that was written and just portrayed was just. It reminds you of these are just young girls.
Yeah.
That they're just playing around and stuff, and they're joking and the laughter and stuff like that. And I was like, it grounded the show for me. But then you get to episode 3 and the shit just flips, and I'm like, what the fuck? You got giant robots and
the first
like, what the fuck's going on?
The beginning of episode 3 felt like Lost.
I could say that.
You know, it just felt like that whole...
Like, you just introduce these new characters and stuff, and you're like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
It's like, episode 3 completely changed the show for me.
Were you done?
Yeah, no, I'm loving the show. I have no idea what the fuck's going on, but it's really good.
I feel like Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that scene that you're talking about, Donnie. I'm glad you mentioned it, because that really highlights like the differences that they're kind of showing between like the innocence of the kids and Erin, how Erin lost that.
Yes.
You know, or like how adulthood makes you lose that, I guess. Like the fact that they're able to just sit there and joke about these things and then you see Mac is not able to join them, and it's
Right.
like she's not in that. It's just like she's not able to do that with them because she's going through her own shit.
Yeah, and which even gets worse when she finds out, hey, I'm dead, like, in a couple of years. Like, that's just...
Right.
Yeah, her whole story is just sad as fuck.
Sorry, I wanted to mark something, so I knew to go back to it. I loved it. I have to say, I don't know what the fuck is going on, and I read it. Like, I feel like they touched on a lot that
In episode 3, I thought they pivoted
that
a lot.
I recognize, that I can say, okay, yeah, now that I can, like, say without spoiling, yeah, it's like two groups from the future and they're fighting each other, right? And the girls are kind of caught up in that. And now the stuff with Max, I'm so glad that came out. Because I'd kind of forgotten. Again, it's been years since I read this, and I haven't finished it. And I just, when we get to the second episode and they're realizing that they can look up their future selves and all of that, I remembered what happened with Mac. And I'm sitting here watching it with you, and I'm like, I can't say anything. And then it wasn't until, like, at one point you finally asked me, is she dead?
I just had a feeling.
Yeah.
When the way he looked at her,
Yeah.
I was like, she's dead.
But yeah, so I, like, that type of stuff, like, yeah, I remember that. But, like, I don't know where this is going. Like, again, I didn't finish it, but, like, even though, like, I feel like I know as much as you guys. Because I don't know where there's so much of this that's, like, different, or maybe I just haven't gotten to it yet. But, like, I did stuff with Mac and her brother, and, like, and it's good stuff. You know, if this is not in the graphic novel, this is, I think, a great way to, like, change and add stuff that just makes the story better. And I like, you know what I really like? How they're not doing that thing where, like, this happens and then they're keeping it from a bunch of people. Like, they met adult Erin, she knows. She met her adult brother, what's his name? Dylan. He knows. You know? The guy Larry, like, that didn't go on too long. Do you know what I mean? Like, any kind of miscommunications or whatever, like the secrets, like, those things are, like, they don't drag it on. And so for that, I don't know if this is something they plan to do more than one season of. I know it's only 8 episodes, but the graphic novel series is only 30 issues, I believe, and that just doesn't feel like a lot. And it feels like they've covered a lot.
Right.
in
the 3 episodes that we've seen. So it may be a limited series type thing. I'm not sure.
I wonder, with the comics, is it a situation where they actually finished? Like, they had a story, they got to the end of their story, and then they're done?
Yeah.
Or is it something where they just stopped doing it?
Right.
No, they're done. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember, but I said in the first podcast that it stopped for a while. It went on hiatus, and then it came back. And so from when it came back, I haven't read those issues, but I have them because I just set up my Comixology subscription, and I was just getting them. And then it ended. So it's completed.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
so, I mean, yeah. They told their complete story. I was just wondering if maybe the TV show would have more, like, it would go into more that wasn't in the comics.
Right.
But if they
I don't know
finished
what
their story.
Yeah, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if this is if the story itself, in that format and graphic novel format was all it needed to be, and now the show is like, oh, hey, we can expand on this universe that the series established, and go a bit beyond, and so they may want to do more. Or if they're gonna just try to milk the 30 issues for as much as they can, for as many seasons as they can. But to me, it doesn't feel like the latter because they've gone through so much material, I think, in just the 3 episodes that I've seen. So, starting with Weird Al is dead. Everyone's freaking the fuck out. Adult Erin. Oh, so from now on, I'm just gonna say adult Erin and Erin. Okay.
Biggie.
That makes sense.
Did you say Biggie? Biggie, literally. At first she runs away, and the girls are left on their own to kind of like figure out what the fuck is happening, and what the future looks like, including Alexa. And unfortunately, Erin finds out that at this point in the future, which we find out is 2019, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like from 1980, it's 31 years.
Yeah.
She was 12, so she's 43 now.
Yeah. And she doesn't look 43 at all to me. Like, I was like,
No.
I didn't think they were that far for some reason at the end of the first episode. Because
Right.
I just didn't think Ali Wong's character was supposed to be in her 40s. But
Right.
yeah.
I'm just questioning why Ali Wong had Capri Suns in her fridge.
Because they're delicious.
I knew that's what John, like, I could have said it with him verbatim. I knew that's what he was going to say.
I mean, honestly, like, Ali Wong's character, Big E, I'm just like, God, she's too real.
Yeah, right?
This shit's too real. It's getting depressing. I'm like, wow, this is like, I'm just a mirror.
Little E felt the same. She was like, "You live like this?" She was like, "Where's my husband and kids?"
She went outside. She's like, "Are the kids in the other room?"
She was like, "Why do I still live in this?" That was so depressing when she said that. That made me like that as somebody who has like dreams that feel like nightmares. They're not like dreams in which like I'm being chased or anything bad happens to me, but simply that I go back and I live in some of those places.
There you go.
And that's either like with you guys or away from you guys. Like, but yeah, those, it makes me so, it's a it just makes me feel terrible. And so when she was like, I do not live in the same house, I felt so bad for her because I was like, Jesus Christ, that's 30 years.
And I'd say, like, it feels more sad the way that I'm viewing it. Like, because it feels like we're going to find out that the reason she doesn't remember her friends is because they made her forget.
No, she never had those friends.
No, but she did. And I think, like, that's what I mean. Is like, I don't know, like, how, like we talked about this last week, right? Like how the time travel works in this universe. But like, if we look at it linearly, right? And if it is that way, like she says that she did have the paper route and that she just.
But she said
left.
she quit. I thought she said she quit that first day.
Yeah, she quit after that first day, and that's what I'm saying is when we find out that what these whoever the fuck they are in the silver suits or whatever, like that they like what happened to Juniper,
right?
Like when she doesn't remember Larry at all, and like when that first happened in that scene, I don't remember exactly when that happened, but when he put on the thing and started making the recorder for his voice, and I was like, oh, I bet that's what's going on with Erin, because it just felt that way. It just felt like the reason, like maybe she did have these friends that she doesn't remember having, and she's lived this life because they made her live this life. Gotcha. They made her forget what happened the same way that Juniper did. That's what I don't know if it's actually the people who made Juniper forget.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, whoever it was that made Juniper forget Larry and him have to be like, well, I'm gonna burn this picture. Like whoever did that, it feels like that they did that same thing to Erin and potentially all the other girls. Like after whatever events happen in this show, and then they go back to 1988. They were forced to lose their memory. Maybe they choose to lose their memory because it has to be that way or something, because that's time travel. I don't know. But it just feels that way. It just feels like she had to choose to live this life the way that she lived it or something. I don't know. It just feels like there's something going on with her memory.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
That's
well,
how
I can't say anything, so.
Right.
Yeah, she learns that her mom passed away. And as you mentioned,
I felt like that was kind of recent too. It didn't seem like it was that long ago that her mother passed away.
I don't really remember how much was said about it, so I don't know. I don't know if I have a feeling about it one way or another. And 30 years is such a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of felt like, it did feel like it wasn't like 20 years ago.
Right. She
like
said she took care of her while she was sick and stuff like that.
Yeah, and she was like, oh, well, she's not suffering anymore.
Right.
You know, it felt like it was a long thing. It wasn't like what happened with Mac.
Right.
It was like 4 years after 1988 and then she dies. I feel like Erin's mom probably was like, 10 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
5 or 10, something like that.
Which was also the fallout for the sister, because the sister wasn't helping her take care of her mother. So she said her sister just went and did her own thing.
Missy.
Yeah.
Missy. They decide they're going to sleep over adult Erin's house. Safest option.
Except Mac didn't want to.
What did Mac want to do?
Mac ended up leaving, but Mac didn't want blankets, didn't want Mac was just so against. It was kind of weird. I didn't like that transition because when they were in the kitchen, Mac seemed fine, but then the second she came down with the blanket stuff, Mac was just very put offish.
I don't think she knows how to behave in situations like that.
Yeah.
I don't think she knows how to accept kindness like that. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, she acts like she doesn't have training.
there's a character in Demon Slayer, Inosuke, who is basically raised by wolves, and he a lot of his interactions with the rest of the cast who grew up like normal regular boys is him just learning why things why society functions the way it does. And there's a scene where this old woman takes them in for the night, and then his stomach growls. He's just sitting outside, his stomach growls. She's like, oh, I heard that. How about I get you something to eat, get you some fresh clothes and all this stuff? And he's just staring at her, and it's just bubbles coming out of his head. And I was like, what is that? And Kaylee was like, oh, he doesn't know how to process emotions. It's like an anime thing where he's just that's what she reminds me of.
Gotcha.
People show her kindness and she just gets angry.
She's not used to it.
Yeah. So yeah, I forget which one of you mentioned this, the whole living room scene with them kind of more bonding and kind of wondering what their future selves are like, offering condolences to Erin, again, who learned that her mother died. And there's a part where, like you said, Mac had kind of refused at first, and she was off to herself, and she had her Walkman on, or her brother's Walkman on. And when KJ, who I really like, by the way, tells Erin, I'm sorry about your mom, and she talks about the ritual with the photos and the burning the incense and stuff, the music stops, the Walkman stops, and Mac starts listening, and I don't know, it felt so sad, because again, like you said, it's she can't relate to any of that, and it felt so easy for the other three to kind of just, I don't know, the dialogue is written in such a way, and the lines are delivered in such a way that it feels really natural.
Yes.
So
That's
it
what I was
just
saying, like, the whole
it
Weird
played
Al-
into the scene of her feeling
Right.
isolated because it just felt like these three girls. They didn't feel like three friends that had just met.
Right.
You know. I'm sorry, Donnie. I cut you off.
No, I was just saying, and just the whole, she tells the whole story about Weird Al and that, and just like, they're like, Weird Al's
Oh
dead?
no, she goes.
And she goes,
I have a
there's
hamster
named Weird Al.
And then she goes, Weird Al is dead. And she goes, he's probably just old.
Man, he's probably just old.
But then Erin starts telling a story about some kid in school, and then they're like, oh, what's his name, Weird Al? And then they all, like, they have this little giggle, and it was just so innocent.
Yeah, yeah. So then Mac goes off on her own, and I was like, there ain't no way in hell, because, like, 1988 to 2019 might as well be 1988 to, like, 2056. It just feels so different, like, and to be a child, and I get it, she's tough and all of that, but I was just like, this is some brave shit, especially after everything they've been through. She's just riding on her bike at night, and I was just like, you don't know how the crime has gone up. You don't know what's going on. But
especially given the things that they've seen up to this point.
Right, that's what I mean.
Like
Everything
the people with the
night.
fucking lasers and shit.
But she goes to where her house used to be, and it's completely gone. How the fuck did KJ find her?
I didn't think that was very well explained.
She was just
There's a
like,
couple
I feel like
things.
there was a scene cut, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe KJ was following her, but it didn't seem like she was.
But that was the only way
saying that she was following.
Right.
Her.
But
Right.
But then when I was like, oh, okay, maybe KJ knew where she lived. But then she asked her, what are you doing over here? She goes, oh, I used to live right here. Then I was like, okay, she had to have followed her. There's no other explanation how she would find her in this exact location.
Although, like Big E says later, it's this street. It's not Manhattan. You know.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. I just had a theory about something. I'm just going to write this.
But their conversation was really good.
Yeah, especially when she started with that shit again sounding just like...
And we just talked about this in the first part.
Yeah.
Is she racist or something? And
Yeah.
that she is, but that's how she was raised.
Yeah.
She's picking up from her brother and her father.
Yeah.
They do a great job of showing how impressionable she is. Like, and I think that's it's a trope, right, where the tough kid who seems very independent and doesn't depend on anybody, doesn't care about anybody, and then she's got this very strong attachment to her brother, to who she actually is very dependent on him and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they did a good job of really building that trope with her, where you see that she is very influenced by things that her brother says. Like, she's always repeating, oh, my brother says this, and my brother says that.
Yeah.
And so, like, it feels like they did do a good job of, like, setting up that, she's got these opinions that are probably from, her dad or her brother or whatever.
But I like the fact that KJ checks her. She's like, you cannot say shit like that. You need to stop talking like that. And I like that she told her, and it's...
You gave her an example, like what happened to her.
Right, but it's frustrating as a person of color or a black woman watching stuff like this, because this is supposed to be 2019. And it's like, okay, yeah, but in reality, it's 2022, and white people are still this fucking dense. Like, they still think they can say stuff like that, and then be like, well, I'm not like that. Like, I would never call you, I would never, put J bitch on your locker, this isn't Nazi Germany. And, they feel like we bring those things up to victimize ourselves. Like, you were never a slave.
Like you
as
have
if
those
white
thoughts,
people
but you're not
aren't
putting it
still
on
being
paper.
fucking racist every moment of every fucking day right now.
She's having those thoughts, but she's not putting it on paper. And it's no different.
I don't even know that she's... Well, I feel like... I don't know. Sadly, I feel like the path of the character as we know it right now, I firmly believe that whether she believes it or not now in real life, if it goes unchecked, she just becomes someone who believes it, if that makes sense. But
yeah, she becomes a member of Congress.
Exactly. This is how you get a Marjorie Taylor Greene. But like, unfortunately for the character, though, it's like, you know, she dies a few years later. So, but I wonder if her brother's still a racist piece of shit. That's a better question. Yeah, because they made me like him, and I want to appreciate it if he's like a MAGA flag in his front yard.
Where was he on January 6th?
I guess where's he voted for Trump twice?
Right, where's he going to be on January 6th? So,
and that's I don't know. Like, I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was, but it was something interesting.
Oh,
we'll go ahead. Go.
So then now this was the kid, not kid. Well, this is the member of what we find out later is the underground, right? That was killed, and we see him resurrected with those little. It looks like the same kind of like nano thingies that healed Erin, right?
Yeah, in fireflies.
Yeah, the STF. I don't know why I keep forgetting like the first 3 letters of that. But yeah, hold on one second. I want to get Adina's character's name. Prioress. So she resurrects him to interrogate him about the hockey stick that she found at the scene of where KJ murked that guy. She absolutely killed that guy.
Yeah, and she's not okay with it.
She's not. I mean, I get it because like it's like, you know, it kind of reminds me of it's like with Carl in The Walking Dead, because like all he was like, "Are you underground?" And she was like, "Is this what it is?" And all he was doing was like reaching to like see if this was in fact what he was like. Maybe he would have been like, "Oh, let me get you girls home." We'll never know, because KJ was like, "You gotta die," apparently. But remember right? Remember when Carl shot that kid, and it was like, was the kid
turned or not?
Yeah. Well, no. Was he reaching for his weapon, or was he giving? Yeah. But he was giving up, absolutely, and Carl killed him anyway.
But then, like, Carl eventually was like, "I don't give a shit."
Yeah. He's like, this is just who I am now.
We are now.
This is what the world is now. But yeah, so she wants to know who KJ is, because her name is, you know, etched into the hockey stick, and he won't give up anything, and he ends up like throwing the bugs in her face and running off. She shoots him in the back, and they got her walking like her feet hurt. Why is she walking like her shoes are like?
She got bad knees.
Okay. It's like that Annalise Keaton walking. I don't understand what's happening.
She ain't gotta walk fast.
Who are you talking about, Ali? Who walks funny?
Prioress. Adina Porter. The head of the people hunting.
I know, but I haven't noticed her walk.
After she shoots the guy who's running from her, and then she walks up on him, like she's walking like John Wayne moseying.
Because I thought Ali Wong walked funny too.
Look at us.
Making fun of old people.
Getting canceled. Ali Wong is not old. I'm older than Ali Wong. What the fuck are you saying?
I know. We walk funny too.
This is true, actually. I can't even lie. So anyway, the next morning, adult Erin takes the girls to the woods, and she didn't quite get exactly everything that went down. So they're like, "Where's all the blood?" And she's like, "Excuse me." And where's the body? And she's like, "Huh?"
Where's my hockey stick?
But this is where they learn about the existence of iPhones, smartphones.
So, when she's like, "Yeah, today we have phones without cords on them. And KJ's like, oh, we have those. And Mac is like, some of us have those.
She will not miss an opportunity to remind everybody she's poor. Not one. But now this, I can say it now. So in the first issue, and remember I was kind of comparing the first issue to the first episode. The first issue just ends with them coming across the two guys. I think there's the whole shootout stuff, but like it's like dropped and left behind. And they pick it up and they're like, what's this? And they're like, there's some sort of weird symbol on the back.
It's the apple.
And she's like, it's not a symbol, it's an apple. And then the final, like, you know, page is the Apple company symbol. And so it's like an iPod or something. And I told you, I read the issue not realizing that it was in the 80s. My dumb ass was just la 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 la. So all this shit jumps off. I'm like, this is terrible. And where'd those guys come from? And then the fact that they didn't recognize that symbol, I was like, hey, wait a second. What's wrong with
you,
me?
stupid?
Yeah, and I was. And I had to scroll all the way back to the front. And then I picked up on the fact that when they show them riding their bikes, there's a Bush campaign flag sign in someone's yard. But of course, it's the other one.
Right, it's the first Bush.
Right, the first one. So I started, I was like, oh, duh. And again, in the comic book, when Erin wakes up and she rips off like the Dilbert calendar, in the show, it's kind of, they don't really show it to you, but they don't need to because they put the date on the screen. In the comic book, it's like very clear. And I'm like, my brain did not register that. So yeah. So far the show is like so far ahead of where the book is. But anyway, she recognizes that the thing that the guys gave her is, you know, some sort of computer, but it's broken. Or they don't know how to operate it. So, adult Erin offers to take them to someone she knows.
I might know someone.
Oh, God. So, gosh, she never intended on Coco. That was his name. Coco was never going to see her again. Mm-mm. If she didn't need the Geek Squad, he would have...
She would have just never had a phone again.
Yeah.
He was really into her.
Yeah. But as she's talking to this guy, showing him this thing, telling him it's like a prototype, if you could quietly kind of look into it, Tiff is starting to not trust her. I guess kind of Erin's, she's a fuck up, we shouldn't trust her, is rubbing off on Tiffany. Meanwhile, Mac and Erin have that chat that John, you mentioned earlier outside.
Yeah, it was really nice. Mm-hmm. I just liked it. The atmosphere of that. It was just nice.
The Dave Matthew Band's T-shirt.
At least two of them were in Dave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If you got awesome T-shirt which says "dumb"
and it fits you.
Yes. So cute.
It's so interesting to me that what's her name, Tiffany?
Yeah.
That she is so like adamant about how she's great. My adult version of me is great, and I was just like, I don't know, like I feel like all of them are gonna find out that all their adult versions suck.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I love that in a situation like this, they have the black girl being about her grades. Mm-hmm. Into science, where like she dressed up like as an astronaut. She's on track for MIT. I just love that because stereotypically, they would not have this be the black girl. That these are her, like, you know. So I'm very curious to see where it goes from here.
Right. I think that feeds into like what I was saying about the fact that they were forced to forget each other, like if they were forced to live worse lives than they wanted to. It just makes it more depressing.
It's interesting to me that I don't know. I feel like in that scene when she was like, you know, you're shitting on me, but you quit after one day, which is coming up. She says, these girls don't even remember your name. You're just new girl. Mm-hmm. That felt like something happened after, though. That for some reason, for her to know that they didn't remember her name, that implies that she remembered them and they didn't remember her. When did that happen? Like, why would she say that? Or am I, like, not understanding that line reading right?
I don't know. The way that I read it was because, I mean, because she did have that trouble with them, like, during their paper route, right? So, like, I just read it as, like, she remembers that. Like, she remembers that day. She just doesn't remember after that day.
Right,
Is that
but
what you're saying?
No, but adult Erin says to her, they don't even, they're not your friends. They don't even remember your name. And then she goes, new girl, that's all you were.
They never got to that scene where she said, no, my name's Erin. Like, that never happened. That's what, it's almost like what she's saying.
So they just, to her recollection, adult Erin, they just got into what kind of trouble?
Everything happened except for them going to the future. But
so they got into the scuffle with the guys.
That's what it sounded like. And then
they delivered their papers.
Right. And then she went home and she
something happened because she said her mother was so pissed.
Right. Because she wasn't supposed to go. Like, she went behind her mother's back.
No, she didn't. Because her mother, to go deliver the papers?
Right.
No, she didn't. She said goodbye to her mother before she left. And she told her it's my first job.
That's the way she tells this story here. I felt like it was, she went behind her mother's back to do this job.
So it's two different things. Two different timelines then. Because it doesn't, right? Because that's not what happened.
Yeah, like she says that her mom didn't want her to get the job, but she got it anyway. Right. But I don't think she went behind her back.
Okay,
that's not how I read it.
Okay, yeah, that's not how they showed it for Erin in the first episode. Okay. Like, they had the conversation because she specifically was like, and then you have me for like X number more years, and then I'll go to college, and then you can visit me in the White House or live with me in the White House or something. Okay, the device, whatever it is from the future, starts to sizzle. And
this is the Neuralink that Elon Musk is working on.
This is all Tiff needs to see though before she's like, yeah.
And that was the other thing. Like, just bring it up real quick, because I didn't realize they went to different schools. So
yeah, they talked about that. They went to
because she
different
said her school was
schools.
school is torn down.
And Mac doesn't go to private school. Yeah, but the other girls go to private school.
So obviously, if they didn't have if she didn't do the paper route after the first day, then she could technically not know these people.
Not know them
because he can go to school with them.
So yeah, Erin has a fight with herself about her life, and she's like, she goes, well, technically we're the same person, so you're just shitting on yourself. She's like, because I don't have to make your shitty decisions. And I was like, y'all both got points. While they're fighting, Mac looks up on the internet, after Tiffany looks up herself on the internet, finds out she has a whole institute. Mac looks up and sees that her brother's a doctor.
Yeah.
And they all leave. And they're just walking. And I was like, yeah, this is some shit you did when you were 12 or 13. We did a lot of just random walking, like...
Well, because she didn't want to be around her...
No, I mean, I get... But I'm just saying the fact that they're just like, yeah, we'll just walk where we need to go. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just a thing at 12. That just seems reasonable, and it's shit you do until your legs give out.
Yeah, I don't remember the bus stop being this far.
They end up staying in the mall, right? Like an abandoned mall.
Yeah, that was like, damn.
Yeah.
It was like post-apocalyptic, but no, it's just 2019. where malls don't exist really.
It's so weird because, like, I definitely remember, like, a mall storyline, plotline. It's not like this. Like, it just was like they were here and then they weren't. I was like, wow. I felt like we spent some time here in the graphic novels. But there's a bit more bonding, kind of, except Mac is, like, again, very resentful and defensive about her station in life currently. And hearing, I guess, Erin be upset about her life, and then, things like, Tiffany, with your money, like, you're saving up Christmas bonus to buy walkie-talkies. Like, if I don't get this money, I don't eat lunch at school. Like, she has just a very different life. Which makes it so sad when she says to her brother later, if you're a doctor, I must be killing it. Because you were a piece of shit.
I'm so much better than you.
Yeah. Oh, God. And Mac ends up leaving.
She's like, I'm out of here. Flips him off and walks away.
Meanwhile, Prioress locates KJ's family.
Yeah, and kills the fuck out of them.
Like, just terrible.
I mean, they didn't seem like the best people, so...
They're just rich and white, which I feel you. You're right. We didn't know nothing about them people except they were rich and white.
And their name was on everything in the city.
Yeah.
Should we host the party again this year?
You thought. So now I'm a bit confused because, like, we're going to talk about episode 3 now. And it feels like I'm not sure how Prioress was, like, knowing where to go most of the time.
Well, the KJ stuff, that obviously was from the hockey stick.
Right.
With her, because her name was on it.
Right.
But after that, she kills the family, and then all of a sudden she's...
Like, how did she go to the hospital?
I have no idea how she tracked Mac to the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think about it, but...
Because she would shoot. Unless KJ's parents gave up some information.
Right, they never show... That's what I'm saying.
Right,
like, they
never
don't show us... Like, she closes the thing and we hear the screaming, but I don't know... But why would they give up the hospital, Mac? Like, that... Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
they could say, hey, these...
How?
I don't
That's
know.
what I'm saying. That's what I mean. How would they... They don't know. Like...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Unless they gave up her friends' names. Like, hey, these were her friends when she was a kid. I don't know.
Because even, wait a second, why were they in 2019?
Who? The parents?
No, Prioress.
Because that's where the girls are.
How did they know that?
Because
the guys died.
They followed the thingy to Juniper.
Yeah, that scene, the Juniper scene
okay.
was, to my
That was
knowledge,
all. That was happening at the same time. So we saw the.
Oh, that's right. You told me that during the episode.
Everything that was happening with the Juniper stuff is what happened in the first episode.
Right.
Yeah, like when they came back to 2019, the Prioress group or whatever, they were there waiting to ambush those guys who came back from 1988.
Right. And Juniper.
And they just happened to have the paper girls with them.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Got it. So yeah, that's what we see in the beginning of episode 3. Blue tongues don't lie. You think maybe Juniper is dead at first, but Larry, he stops and he starts to record that message for himself, and he gives like a lot of information. Like, I had Donnie rewind it like twice. But yeah, they're part of the STF Underground. Their mission is to protect the asset, and the asset lives in Father's office. The date is June 23rd, 2019. And if he's listening to this, then they have erased his memories, and this recording is his testimony. And then he says, blue tongues don't lie. And they hide the recording in the freezer?
Yeah.
Not very stealthy.
Yeah, just like throw it in there.
Yeah, don't
beside
even like
the
put it
ground
in a
beef.
bag of mixed vegetables like Mayor Beast.
I thought it was interesting that he tells his birth date,
Yeah.
and he's younger than the birth date that we get from Match. Not just, I just thought that was interesting.
Wait, say that again.
His birthday was 1978, and
Yes.
the birthday she had was 1976.
Yeah.
And so, like, he's
Oh yeah,
his
I
birthday
get
is
you.
younger than hers.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting because obviously she's
Right,
12
right.
years old and he's like 40 or whatever.
Right. So yeah, he ends up going to Juniper's house because he loses communication with her. I thought she was dead, but when he goes to her house, turns out she doesn't know who he is. Who he thinks he's her Uber driver. I was frustrated with the way he did not like present that recording. He didn't try very hard.
Yeah, he didn't fight it. He just tried to play it one time, and she was like, "I don't know who you are." And he's like, "All right."
Like, first of all, don't let her take it from you. Stand at a distance and be like, "Listen, I just need you to listen to the whole thing." But you know what's weird to me? Like, why weren't, if you erase her memory, so I'm guessing it has to be something against, like, their protocol, right? Because we find out later they don't like time travel, priors in them, right? And they restrict it.
Right.
They're called the
time
Old
cops.
Watch. That's their name. The Old Watch, right. So the Old Watch. So I'm assuming the reason is just easier for them to have people forget that and then just put them back into their lives, right?
Right.
I guess.
Because as far as we
Because
know,
I was like,
Kate,
I thought he would. That was like a setup. Like, I was like, wow, you're pretty
Oh, I see
bold.
what you're saying.
You know, that once you realize that she forgot, like, not forgot, that they erased her memory, I thought it was pretty bold of him to stand there playing that fucking tape in the doorway, like, not knowing if they were inside. Like, I wasn't sure, like, how this worked, or if they were then going to follow him. But I'm guessing they must not. People within, like, I guess they're not trying to, like, disrupt people's timelines. So they just make them forget. Whereas the other two, I forgot their names, Nardo or something, like, they're from the future. So the Old Watch is fine killing them. And so, like, what John is saying, like, the fact that they don't know each other or remember each other is implying that eventually the Old Watch will scrub their memories and put them back into their lives.
right.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, either that or it becomes like one of those tragic things where they realize they have to do that to, like, fix time. Like, so they have to make that choice.
So then they didn't kill KJ's parents.
Were those her parents? Because it's 2019. So
I just took it as because they.
I guess
still
it was.
rich
They may
people
be
and all this
older.
Stuff, but maybe they just asked some questions and wiped their memories.
It was
No.
it was Weird Al.
So this stuff with Mac and her brother in the hospital was great. It was also really fucking sad. This was some sad shit.
Yeah, when he sees her at the vending machine for the first time, it was like, I like that a lot because like the acting there, and then the way that she's just like herself.
Yep.
She's not like, hey, my brother, because like obviously she's like, oh, you've gotten old or whatever, but like he's seeing his dead sister that he hasn't seen in, I don't know,
30, 40 years.
25 years. So it's wild.
The actor looks so familiar, and I'm looking up, like, seeing what he's done, and yeah, I haven't seen. I mean, he's been in stuff I've seen, like some episodes of, like Arrow, so I have no idea if it's just I've seen him in enough things that he just has this familiar face. But yeah, I thought he did a great job in First, the kind of like immediate recognition, like, holy shit, this was Edward Furlong. No, I'm kidding. he was like, holy shit, this is my this child looks just like my dead sister, right? And then as she's saying what she's saying, you can see the kind of like Okay, she sounds like her. She's talking like her. You know, she's talking to me the way my sister spoke to me and all that. But then when we don't hear anything from his side of it, when we don't hear her tell him everything, right? Like the scene begins after she has. And he's silent through like the whole thing. And then he tells her, my sister died. The way he said it, I was like, oh, he doesn't believe her. Unfortunately. Because again, if this happened and I read it, I completely forgot. But I don't think I've read this. So either it hasn't happened yet or this is completely different. I'd be curious to know from someone who has finished it. Well, no, don't tell me because I'm going to read it. But either way, this is great. It was just, the acting here was great. But he calls the people on her.
Yep. He's like, I know you sound like a very troubled young woman.
And then he goes and like gets her DNA tested after he notices his Walkman with all this marks and scuffs and stickers and his name etched on it, and he's like, fuck, this girl is thorough.
I was like, he's about to do a DNA test and shit his pants.
Yes. And so then when he comes up to the woman and he's like, she's my kid, I thought for a second, oh, fuck, he really believes that. But then I realized, oh, no. He can't go to her and be like, no, she's telling the truth. Because they'd both be locked up for the night. And then the scene in the car was sweet.
They made it seem like that her talking to that social worker is how the other lady found them. It was almost like it was a red flag at the hospital that this person talked about the future or some shit. I don't know. It was just, that's how it kind of played.
Why was she there? Like, the scene began, what you're talking about is priors in the social service, the office of the hospital, right? Like, so talking to the woman who, like, made it act like it didn't happen.
Right.
Her boss.
Right.
And so it was like she was already there asking specifically about Mac because he was saying, she was saying this, she was saying that. Right. Why is she there?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. But then I think we're to believe that the social worker gave up, I'm assuming she gave up the doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. We just haven't seen it yet.
Right.
I mean, I think what you were saying, Donnie, is what we're supposed to think, even though I think it's flimsy, that Mac talking about this shit kind of was like a flag.
Yes, it flagged somebody's computer or little iPhones and said, hey, somebody's talking about the future or time travel at this location.
And that's why Prioress ended up at the hospital to begin with.
Gotcha.
And like I said, I think that feels very flimsy, but I mean, I can buy it, I guess, because
they'd have to show it to us, though.
Right.
Like, at some point, they'd have to confirm that that's what happened, because that's a pretty big kind of condition in the world to say that they have that capability, right? Like, because we later learned from Larry that they go back to, like, fix things, but he doesn't say, like, what they are. And the Old Watch is against that because he describes them as rich reactionaries who don't want anything changing
because it'll change their wealth.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like one of the things they would have been like, hey, you know that 2016 election?
Right.
Let's change that a little bit.
Yes. And all the stories like this, everybody's always like, yes, everything always needs to happen, including slavery. It's like, you know what? Fuck y'all. Y'all never want to go back and correct that shit. So yeah, where were we? Okay, so everything in the car, it was just so sweet. And the way he talks about, it was so funny because before he said it, I was like, she's why he became a doctor. And then it was like, beat. He goes, you want to know why I became a doctor? I said, told you. But I like he talked about how she fought the person she became.
Yeah, I like when this is the line, he's like, you don't know who you're about to become.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, that seems like the message of, the show up to this point, right? Like, you don't know. Like you think when you're a kid, you think who you are is who you're always gonna be, and you think you know who you're gonna be, right? And you just don't know.
Nope. Really don't know shit.
And I like that he tells her to buckle up, and he's like, no, seriously, buckle up.
Yes, yes.
And he's like, I'm not that fuck up you remember.
Right.
Anymore. I'm responsible.
This was not just a saying. It's speaking literally. So it turns out like Erin and them get to the hospital just as they leave.
With
and
Larry.
Larry's been following them. Right. And he zaps adult Erin, tase her, and he puts her in his van. A fucking creeper. And the girls see this, and Tiffany follow with Tiffany driving adult Erin's car. This leads to his house, which leads to a crash, which leads to everybody's in the basement.
I love, just really quickly, I loved when he's like, who the fuck is following us? It looks like children.
It's interesting because to my recollection, some of this story, it feels like there was like a generational divide too. Like it was kind of like the people, for instance, when Pryoress resurrects that one and she's like, that's the problem with you teenagers, right? And I was like, oh yeah, like that jogged something in my memory where I felt like this whole battle, one group is like relatively young. So it was interesting when Larry is like, what is the old watch using child soldiers now? I was like, she called what's one of the guys that died, didn't she call him a teenager? It's like, so you're one to talk. Like, what are you talking about?
These damn millennials.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, over breakfast, kinda, the next morning, they finally come clean to Larry and tell them exactly how they came to have the little thing that they have. I forgot to mention that it did scan adult Erin's face at one point. That's how she ends up finding her way to the girls to begin with. No, she ends up because the town is super small. But that shit is popping up when she's trying to drive.
Yeah, that's how Larry finds her.
That's how Larry finds her, right?
I like that Larry's like, I might look stupid, but I'm not.
Yeah. Max sleeps over at her brother's house. And there's a really sweet moment the next morning. Like, he convinces his wife that she's like distant family or whatever. The next morning, he tells her, I'm not going to let you get sick.
I'm going to take you to the hospital and do some testing.
Yeah. So, I mentioned earlier they were talking about like the difference, like the conflict between the STF Underground and the Old Watch. And the STF was basically, I hear Nico in there just crying, described as like outlaws, and they go through back in time fixing moments. So I'm really curious about that. I want to know more about what those moments are, because it was I was definitely getting a vibe of,
this is like
we're just hearing his side of it, and it sounds like they think they're the good guys, but maybe they're not necessarily.
Right, it's like the Loki show.
The what?
Loki.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it feels very like the language that they use feels very political.
Yeah.
Right, like at one point he's like, I don't remember what exactly, like, I think it's Tiffany says something, and then he's like, that's an Old Watch talking point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it sounds very much like, like younger, like Democrats or something, or very and older Republicans and reactionary Republicans.
So he does mention though that the Old Watch, they feed people to dinosaurs. It's like, do they take them back?
Yes, they take them back.
That's so fucking terrible.
Just drop them off.
That's so fucking terrible. That's probably one of the more evil things I've heard in pop culture fiction. It's just dropping people off in the Stone Age.
You time travel.
Good luck.
I mean, if you had the capability,
it's just, I wouldn't even risk it, because I wouldn't even want to fuck around and get stuck out there. No. No. So once he learns that his friends are dead, he starts burning everything. He realizes, what has happened and how much trouble they're in. he and there's more explaining about who they are and what they do. And this is where Pryor's turns up at the hospital and is questioning the social service person. And I was so nervous that someone was going to show up there at like the farm that I had to remind myself, oh no, if anything, she's going to track Mac's brother, right? Like that's the information she would get from that woman.
Yeah, she's gonna show up at that guy's house.
Yeah, but there's like nothing that tells us how she ended up at that hospital to begin with. But then Larry takes the girls into like this barn, and because he's like,
it's a silo, right?
Silo.
That's
right.
Three silos.
And
does that mean he's got 3 Gundams?
That's what I was thinking.
What the fuck? Like, what the fuck was that?
And it made me, because he's like, oh, you could see that thing. That made me think that little iPad thing, whatever it did to Big E, that she can control those robots.
She's gonna get her ass into one of those Gundams, and it's gonna be a completely different show.
Like, what was that? What was that fucking movie with the robots?
Pacific Rim.
Yeah, Pacific Rim.
So, like, I don't particularly like mech stories or mech animes, and there are times when Kaylee, like, will suggest something and we'll watch it, and, like, there'll be, like, a brief, like, character or design or something, and it'll look like a mech, and I'm like, you told me this wasn't a mech anime, and it becomes, like, a running joke. So, yeah, and I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? Hi, pup, I'm sorry. You feel like, why are you being punished, right? Like, why won't I let you be around me? It's because you breathe heavy.
You can't control that.
I know, but it's loud. So sometimes you gotta go away so we can finish. But we're all done. We're all done. Wanna come out here? We're gonna put the AC on, watch some TV.
I let him out because, like, for the most part, he was just sleeping by the door. But then there's a point when he woke up and he just started crying on the door. And I
Oh, pup. It's okay. You can stay out here now. Love you. Anyway, yeah. So that is it. I'm totally cool with doing 2 more. If you guys want to do 2 more next week, just let me know.
Yeah.
That was fun, and it's a great show, and it's really tough to like watch one and just be like, oh, especially because they're just there. They're just there. We will do that. We need to talk about only murders in the building. I've just been recording a lot this week, and I don't know how much steam I'm going to have to record tomorrow. Jack's birthday was yesterday, so we're doing movie night now. Like, when we're done talking now, we're going to watch a movie with him, and then tomorrow he wants to do game night. So only murders in the building may have to be another 3-fer. Right? 3? Yeah. That's what we did last time. And that was fine. It's a short show, so. But yeah. As always, though. Maybe I should check and see if there's feedback. There wasn't before we started. See how good I am? I started to check before, but now I feel guilty. Because, like, what if somebody came and left feedback while we were talking? I feel really, really guilty.
You know one mech anime that I thought of when you start talking about mech anime? Gundress. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
What's it called? Say again? Gundress?
Yeah, Gundress.
Gundress.
Yeah, I think it's Gundress, but yeah, it's spelled Gundress with one word.
Okay. And go ahead, you gotta tell us about it.
I don't really remember a ton about it. That's the thing. Like, I just remember watching it. I think it was a movie, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I remember liking it, but I don't remember a bunch about it.
Yeah. There's the oh, you hush your face. The oh god, Tiger and Bunny anime. Like, it's not mech anime, but like there was like an episode where like one villain used mechs and stuff. So I was like, you told me this wasn't. And then their costuming is kind of like, if you look at the cover photos on Netflix, you may think that it's kind of mechy, not to be confused with methy.
They should do a Breaking Bad mech anime.
There you go.
It could be mechy and methy.
Okay, yeah, no feedback. There is, though, a podcast request. We got a movie request. And I know Mahershala Ali is in the movie, so anyway, but yeah, that is it. We will be back next week. We've decided, yes, we're going to do 2 episodes next time, right? So 4 and 5. Yeah, that works. Yeah, we could do like 2 at a time until the finale. That'll be fun. How's that sound?
Yeah, I mean,
okay. Cool.
It works for me.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you next time.